All right, everyone, welcome back. And today I am proud to say I have an absolute certified banger of an action figure here. This is McFarlane's Mega Violator. Now, I know what you're thinking already. When the hell does Violator look like this? Well, apparently this was in one of the more recent comics. I don't know, I haven't read it yet, but I'm just going to rip the band-aid off here and say this is easily the best thing McFarlane has ever done. Genuinely his magnum opus, I must say. I just cannot glaze this figure enough. This is easily one of the best things he's ever done. And I'm going to show you why. So, well, for starters, you can still find it, although its price has been raised to like 50 something dollars, and there's two variants. The other variant's like more pale and it's got blood all over it, and it comes with a signed card. But I got this one, because I just like this version more. I'd never been a huge fan of the let's just throw a bunch of paint on it and call it a day. So variant BS that various toy companies do. Now, at the time this came out, this was part of McFarlane's Mega line. Now, most of these figures cost $40, and most of those figures are not worth that much. But this was one of the first, I believe, to be in the Mega line. They're the Mega sub-series that he does for each of his lines, and yeah, this one was absolutely worth every one of those dollar dues. I'm talking like, what, $43? Every penny that you spend on this figure is more than well earned. So without further ado, let's get into it. For accessories, there isn't much, but there is this stand here. It's typical McFarlane stand, a BBB, big black base. Just has the logo of whatever IP you bought. Now, down to the absolute magnum opus. My God, look at that. Now, I will say, one minor gripe I do have with this figure is the fact that when McFarlane revisited the Spawn IP to make these figures, he didn't do a skinny Violator first, Like, I know we don't have any figures of this big, bulky, hulking Violator, but I still find it odd that we didn't get a skinny one. And considering how absolutely goated this figure is, I'm genuinely impressed we didn't get a uber articulated revamped skinny Violator, but that's fine. It's a shame he's never gonna do it because he practically abandoned the fucking Spawn line, in favor of absolutely everything else. Really a NECA moment in the making. I'm just gonna say, it's gonna be like NECA Aliens all over again. Gonna have this great IP and gonna do absolutely nothing with it, Because, again, even though it's easily, I'd argue, his best line that he's currently got, yeah, he's just not going to touch it anymore, which is big sad. So, starting off with the face, I mean, the jaw isn't as long as usual, but that's because it's part of its design is that it's supposed to be huge. Christ, this figure is so big, it's casting a shadow over itself. Well, still, details really good. The paint in the mouth is really great. It's a nice glossy, finish, and it's even textured and whatnot. Again, this is the kind of thing NECA would charge like $100 for the, nowadays. Hell, this looks like a NECA figure in their when they were in their prime too. But still, we got this nice horns, various detail and paint. Got the nice bug eyes, really well done. Lovely teeth. I love McFarlane, the way McFarlane draws teeth. Really well done. So yeah, the head is rather small for Violator, but the rest of the figure makes up for it in size. Definitely a size matters moment, if I do say so myself. Yeah, a giant horn on the back, typical for the Violator design. Let's see, can I get it on camera without destroying my setup here? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. What in the actual hell, dude? What is going on with my lighting? It's just not working like usual. And since we're already here, might as well look at the back. Very well done. Nice spiky back. I love these kinds of, back designs. With the nice spiky protrusions on the spine. Really well done. And this cool, almost doomsday, like, rock effect going on with the rest of the figure. I think it's really cool. Then we've got these giant, huge hulking arms that pretty much make up like 75% of the figure. You know, really well done. Various spikes and protrusions, rocky elements, very well done, very beautiful. You know, we've got more armor plating here, giant hands, you know, with various protrusions, claws, you know, very well done. Again, every one of the monies here spent, although the articulation does break up the sculpt here, but yeah, that's very minor in comparison to the rest of the figure. And yes, the arms are differently sculpted. The spikes are randomized on each arm, so, you know, it's not the complete exact same. You know, we got the torso here, relatively tiny because, again, this is mostly like a big hunchback design. But still pretty well done. Very well done. A lot of great texture work here. You know, pelvic area, got a tailbone going on. Then we move in around again. More great texture work. Again, this is some wondrous texture work on the thighs here. Got more spikes and protrusions. Then we've got the digitigrade hind legs. Very well done. Then we've got these giant monster feet. So for articulation, this is the other standout of the figure. It's really well articulated. So jaws on a hinge. Now, I don't know if the head is on any... Oh yeah, the head is on something. The head's got to be on like a joint or something, because it can tilt slightly down if you collapse the jaw in. I can't get it to really rotate, but it does go down and up a little. There is an ab crunch here, as well as a second one at the base of the torso, so you can tilt him, pretty much have him crunch all the way forward, and stand up pretty straight, as well as a bit of a swivel going on. It is a bit tight, but that's because usually with big figures like these, their joints are absolutely reinforced to make sure they don't break. Arms, they go out and pretty far, as well as forward and back. Now, there is a one bend at the elbow, but it works really good. It's a 90-degree bend at the elbow, so I can't complain. There's also a swivel there. And then there's a hinge and swivel at the wrists. Legs are on these ratchet joints, so they can go pretty far out, but due to the sculpt, they can be limited in some places. There is also a swivel, I believe, but again, really hard because it's big figure. An absolute wondrous bend at the knee, single jointed, yet it behaves like a double joint. Very beautiful. I do believe there is a bit of a swivel there, but yeah, not necessary. There's another hinge and swivel at the ankle here. Let's see, yeah, there we go. And then there's a hinge and swivel at the foot. Now, again, because this figure is absolutely huge and massive, just for a size comparison. Let's see, where is it? Oh yeah. Here's one of McFarlane's regular 7-inch figures, so it's still in scale. Absolutely massive, dwarfs the motherfucker. Let's see here, don't believe me? All right. Here's another one. You know, pretty good scale, I will say. And by comparison, here's a mega figure. You know, still absolutely dwarfs him. You know, it is still lovely. So, all in all, final thoughts on this figure. Easily the best thing McFarlane's ever done, hands down. I mean, it's, you know, it doesn't come with much, but it is absolutely massive. The detail is great. The articulation is great. It's a shame most McFarlane mega figures don't really feel like mega at all. It's just figures that could have fit in the regular packaging, but because they're bigger than usual, which again is funny because McFarlane said he'd do all these build a figure, you know, figures, and he'd charge normal price for them and yada yada yada, you know. But yeah, no. So, but I will say this figure absolutely is worth the price point it is. So definitely worth more than a lot of his other mega figures. So yeah, with that said, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.